It began with a sentence, short, mysterious, and powerful enough to send the entire internet into meltdown. Jamie Dornan, the man the world knew for his quiet charm and guarded privacy, had just said something that no one expected. During a live interview for a British talk show, Jamie was asked about his long history with Dakota Johnson, his 50 Shades co-star and the woman with whom he shared one of cinema's most intense on-screen connections. Smiling thoughtfully, he said, "A part of Dakota will always stay with me, maybe even a baby." The studio audience laughed at first, assuming it was a joke, but Jamie didn't. He smiled, yes, but there was a flicker of something else in his eyes. Nostalgia, maybe, or something deeper. And in that single moment, a spark ignited that would soon set the internet on fire. Within minutes, the clip went viral. Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube were flooded with theories. "Did Jamie just confirm he has a baby with Dakota?" screamed one headline. "9 years of rumors, and now this," wrote another. Hashtags like #Jamie and Dakota baby, #Dornan confession, and #50 Shades truth exploded worldwide. Fans began dissecting every frame of the interview, slowing down the footage, analyzing his tone, his smile, even his hand movements. Some claimed he looked too sincere for it to be a joke. Others insisted he was teasing, playing along with fan fantasies. But one thing was certain: Jamie Dornan had just said something that no one could unhear. To understand why this small comment created such chaos, one had to return to where it all began. The set of 50 Shades of Grey, nearly a decade earlier. Back in 2013, when Jamie replaced Charlie Hunnam as Christian Grey, Dakota Johnson was already cast as Anastasia Steele. Fans were skeptical. Could these two actors, so different in personality, create the fiery chemistry needed for the roles? But from the very first scene, it was clear something rare was happening. Their connection was electric, unspoken, and completely natural. The first time they met, the entire crew just stopped, a production assistant once recalled. There was this quiet energy between them. Not flirtation exactly, but something magnetic. Everyone could feel it. That connection only deepened as filming progressed. Between takes, they laughed like old friends. During emotional scenes, they relied on each other completely. "We had to trust one another," Jamie once said in a 2015 interview. "There's no way to do a film like that unless you're both completely open and protective of each other." Fans called it chemistry. Others called it something more. Rumors of a secret romance swirled for years, despite both actors insisting their relationship was purely platonic. Still, every public appearance, every shared glance, every interview seemed to tell a different story. One of two people who understood each other in ways no one else could. Fast forward to now, nearly 10 years later, and that one phrase from Jamie reopened every door they thought had been closed. A reporter from Variety was the first to press the question. "Jamie, when you said, maybe even a baby, what did you mean?" Jamie chuckled, avoiding the question. "Oh, people love to read between the lines," he said cryptically. "Let's just say, some bonds don't fade." But that only made things worse. Reddit threads exploded. Fan accounts began posting old photos, behind-the-scenes shots of Dakota and Jamie laughing together, press junket clips where they finished each other's sentences, and that infamous moment when Jamie absent-mindedly brushed a strand of hair from Dakota's face during an interview. To many, these weren't coincidences, they were clues. Maybe he was speaking metaphorically, one fan theorized. Like the baby is their movie, their legacy. Others weren't convinced. "Look at his face," another wrote. "That's not metaphor, that's confession." Meanwhile, the world turned its eyes to Dakota Johnson. Would she respond? Would she deny it? Or would she, for the first time, confirm what so many fans had believed all along? At a film premiere in Los Angeles the next day, Dakota appeared radiant but composed. When a journalist shouted the inevitable question, "Dakota, is it true about you and Jamie?" she just smiled faintly and said, "Jamie and I will always share something special. That's all I'll say." That single sentence added fuel to the fire. To fans, it wasn't a denial, it was validation. By nightfall, tabloids across the globe were ablaze. Dornan and Johnson. Secret child revealed? Hollywood's best-kept secret finally out? 9 years later, the truth surfaces. Inside sources began to whisper that Jamie and Dakota had remained in close contact through the years, that their bond had never truly ended. A friend of Dakota's allegedly told People, "They've always had a connection that went beyond work. Whether it's love or friendship, I don't think even they could define it." And so, what started as a passing comment had become a storm, one that no publicist could control. For the first time in years, Jamie Dornan and Dakota Johnson were back at the center of Hollywood's most captivating mystery. The question wasn't just whether the baby was real, it was what, exactly, Jamie meant when he said that part of Dakota would always stay with him. And as fans across the world held their breath, one thing became clear. Whatever the truth was, it wasn't over yet. The chaos didn't fade overnight. If anything, it grew louder. For days, the internet buzzed with speculation, dissecting Jamie Dornan's words as if they were a coded confession. Headlines screamed from every corner of the world, Jamie and Dakota's secret baby revealed. The confession that changed everything. Fans demanded answers, while the actors themselves stayed silent, which only made the storm stronger. By the end of the week, paparazzi were everywhere. Dakota was spotted leaving a cafe in Los Angeles, her face hidden behind sunglasses, her expression unreadable. Jamie, in London, appeared equally composed, greeting photographers with polite smiles but no comment. Yet both carried that same air of quiet tension, the kind that comes when truth and rumor begin to blur. Then, at last, Jamie spoke again. It was during a sit-down interview for a magazine cover story. The journalist, like everyone else, couldn't resist asking. "Jamie," she said carefully, "the world went crazy after your baby comment. Can you clarify what you meant?" Jamie laughed softly, shaking his head. "I probably should have chosen my words more carefully," he admitted. "But no, Dakota and I don't have a baby together, at least, not in the way people think." The interviewer smiled, intrigued. "Then what did you mean?" Jamie leaned back in his chair, thoughtful. "When we made 50 Shades, it wasn't just a film," he said. "It was something we built together, from nothing. It was terrifying and exhausting and beautiful. It became this living thing that connected us. In a way, that project, that experience, was our baby." He paused, the corners of his mouth lifting. "I meant that metaphorically, of course. But it's true, we created something that changed both of our lives forever. And yeah, a part of that, a part of her, will always stay with me." The interviewer nodded, sensing the sincerity in his voice. It wasn't scandal, it was sentiment. Still, when the article dropped, it didn't stop the frenzy, it only reshaped it. Now, fans weren't arguing about a child but about the meaning of that connection. About whether Jamie and Dakota's bond had ever truly been just friendship. Meanwhile, Dakota herself finally addressed the whirlwind. At a press event for her new film, a reporter asked, "Dakota, how do you feel about Jamie's comment? About being his metaphorical baby mama?" Her laughter filled the room, soft and genuine. "I think Jamie has always been poetic," she said. "He's right, though. That film was our baby. We raised it together, we protected it, we lived through the chaos it caused. It was a wild ride, but one I'll never regret." She paused, her expression softening. "He'll always mean a lot to me. You can't go through something like that with someone and just forget it." Those words, calm, mature, and deeply human, shifted the entire conversation. The tabloids quieted, and fans, instead of arguing, began celebrating the unique connection between the two. What had started as a rumor ended as something rare in Hollywood. A story about respect, nostalgia, and shared history. A week later, Jamie and Dakota appeared, coincidentally, at the same charity gala in New York. When they spotted each other across the crowded ballroom, they smiled instantly. Cameras flashed as they embraced, a warm, easy hug that seemed to confirm everything without saying a word. Reporters asked if they were tired of the rumors. Jamie chuckled. "You know," he said, "we could tell the truth 100 times, and people would still want it to be a love story. Maybe that's fine. It means we did our job well." Dakota, standing beside him, added quietly, "There's love there, just maybe not the kind people think." The photo of them laughing together went viral overnight. But this time, the headlines were softer. Jamie and Dakota, still connected after all these years. Not scandal, just history. Behind the scenes, a friend of Jamie's shared a final detail. "He really does see that time as something sacred," the friend said. "He's proud of what they made, but more than that, he's grateful. That bond, that mutual trust, it changed him." For Dakota, it was much the same. When asked years later about the experience, she smiled and said, "We went through fire together. It made us who we are." And perhaps that was the truth behind the baby Jamie mentioned, not a child, but a creation. Not a secret romance, but a shared piece of history that would always belong to the two of them. As one fan perfectly put it online, they didn't have a baby. They had a legacy. In a world obsessed with gossip and scandal, Jamie Dornan's words had accidentally reminded everyone of something simpler, and far more beautiful. That sometimes, the most unforgettable bonds aren't born of love affairs or secrets, but of shared dreams, mutual respect, and a story that refuses to fade. And as the headlines finally died down, one truth remained. Whatever that baby was, film, friendship, or something deeper, it would always tie Jamie Dornan and Dakota Johnson together in a way no rumor ever could.